last time was SummerSlam. Did you enjoy SummerSlam? Because I think you and I were kind of the same page, tweeting our concerns and stuff.
Yeah. I thought there was potential there. I feel like they missed the mark pretty much on every time. When I was going through today, just to kind of like revisit some things, 'cause I didn't rewatch, but I went down through the card on
Right.
Wikipedia and was like, what did I think of this match overall? And there were maybe like three matches that I thought were good.
Same, same.
And then other than that, I mean, the moments were cool, like Becky coming back, awesome. But then what followed just took the wind out of the sails of that moment.
I, yeah.
I
Start
mean
there.
that
We can start there because
yeah,
I think that's really honestly looking at the whole 4 hour soiree last night.
four
That was
plus.
the
Oof.
takeaway. Honestly, that was the
Yeah,
biggest takeaway really of and like I'm watching in the moment. Like I didn't have a problem with looking at now with time has settled now, especially hours later. You know, it wasn't so much that because I get the feeling also that even if Sasha was able to compete in the match, that
hmm
Tom has still changed anyway, regardless.
right.
Uh, it's the execution that was bothered by,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the entire I try not to be like everybody else on Twitter, reactionary and oh my god, what the hell, but that I mean that's that's as close to a squash and as close to a burial as you can really make it out to me. Now we'll see how it
Right.
goes, how to respond, but yeah, it's so far as a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, you have one of the most over people in wrestling, almost wrestling history, women's wrestling anyway, in Becky Lynch coming back, a huge pop, a huge moment, and you have one of the biggest rising stars in the women's division in Bianca Belair. I mean, those two are going to put on a fantastic match if you give them the time. So, what transpired did not need to happen. I mean, you could have easily had Bianca squash Carmella and then Becky's music hits. Becky comes out. Becky lays down the challenge, and we get that build. But instead, what we got was, I mean, it kind of it ruined both of them for me. Like it makes Bianca look weak, and it makes Becky look bad. I mean, she's supposed to be this like tough. I want to fight. I want to earn this championship. I want to do all the right things, and then she just comes back, gets the sucker punch finisher, 1, 2, 3, less than 10 seconds. It was just disheartening that that was the route they went with those two women, because those are two of their top women in the division still, even with Becky being out for so long.
Unless we believe that this can be the heel turn, because if we have a comparison to look forward to, like now, granted, he wasn't out as long as Becky was during COVID, but Roman Reigns returning SummerSlam last year,
Hmm.
and when we came out of SummerSlam, we were thinking, okay, whatever, but is he heel? And then we got a confirmation a couple weeks later.
Right.
Are we sure Becky Lynch is not a heel? Because
Right. And even
he,
still, I mean that there's a good she can come out, lay down the challenge, and then do the sucker punch. And still we get the heel turn. We don't have Bianca losing the title in that manner, and we're going to be treated to a fantastic match. There's obviously going to be another match. We're going to get that. So at this point, all we have to go off of is what we saw, and what we saw was not good at all for either of them.
well, definitely SmackDown this Friday will be. And that's the thing that sucks too. Also, you have to wait 6 days now to
Yeah.
the response. Like in the old days, when they didn't have different brands and stuff, you always knew, okay, pay per views on Sunday. Okay, Monday we'll get the first reaction since the pay per view. We have to wait 6 days. I will say this much. I'm not. I obviously hated what happened last night, but this is what I
Mhm.
will. There is a lot of benefit to being in chase mode. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Bianca's reign has not been great. I think it's been really, really good. Her feud with Bailey was fantastic. You know,
Yep.
um, but I will say there is benefit to being in chase mode. We all recognize, I mean, maybe you do too, that probably the biggest superstar in the history of the company, history of the business, certainly history of the company, is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hmm.
I've never recognized Stone Cold Steve Austin as a great champion though, because most of his runs that we've enjoyed was him chasing the damn belt. He
Right.
held the longest reign he had, his entire tenure in WWE was 6 months, and that was in 2001.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, booked correctly. I mean, it's the same. The second most over person we've seen recently is probably Daniel Bryan,
Right.
and another one who's great in the chase, and he was great as a heel champion, I thought. But when he was the face, when we had the Yes movement, once he got that title, it just kind of felt like a where do we go from here? Now he got injured, we didn't really have to see it, but it feels like that would have gotten stale pretty quickly too. So I don't know, if that's what was going to happen with Bianca. I thought at this point she was doing fine, but she was also running out of people to feud with.
Especially
So
there's a lot of injuries too. Bailey's out, whatnot, and SmackDown.
whatever's going on with Sasha, yeah. So that
Right.
there's not a whole lot of options.
Yeah, I do think I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not gonna bitch about it like everybody else on Twitter last night. About I'm gonna let this settle a little bit, because if Becky is in turn to heel, then it makes sense, and
Yeah.
then you can have Becky get all the heat now, and then Bianca now can go to another level now. Because
Yeah.
if let's say she's on chase mode for now, Survivor Series, Rumble, Mania.
Hmm.
She's not. Then there's another level of Bianca stardom. And
Yeah.
I think we can, if we allow the long term storytelling to play out. But then again, that's also trusting WWE creative, which
Right.
that's a challenge in itself.
I mean, if you're still trusting them, then you have a lot of confidence in something that I've lost confidence in a while ago,
But but,
unfortunately.
but they can't possibly fuck this up, right? I mean, Bianca's the obvious. She's arguably the most over person in the company, not named. I don't know. I mean, Roman was a heel, but she's probably the most over person in the company right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Certainly the most over face that they had.
Yes. So
Easily.
I mean,
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And again, I like you, I'll hesitate to use the word burial, but
Right.
it was an odd decision to bring her back to do that. Like, definitely bring her back. Her return, when that music hit, crowd went nuts. I was like, awesome. I love it.
Mhm.
And then it just kind of that match, if you want to call it that, just kind of deflated the moment because no one's really talking about the return anymore. They're talking about Bianca. And then maybe that's a good thing. Maybe you can build off that. But for now, like you said, we have to wait 6 days and see what we're doing with it.
Right. We'll see what happens in 6 days. What else stood out to you last night? Other things bothered you about last night?
Bothered me. I do not understand the Miz and Morrison and Xavier. I don't understand why we needed that at all, especially when we're coming off the heels of a 10-second match with two of your best women wrestlers, and then we have a 5-minute segment about super soakers. It was lost on me. If whatever they were going for, I missed the mark. And maybe other people enjoyed it, and that's fine. But that to me was just because we just saw a fantastic match with Edge and Rollins,
Oh, that was
and
fair.
then
Easy.
it was right into that, and that was just like, wow,
Right.
what are we doing here? Like, the crowd was hot, everyone's feeling it. Edge and Rollins put on an A+ caliber match, and then they just followed it with like a gag segment. You can't do that.
I didn't mind the when Xavier came out with the Scott Hall tribute. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like the gear, and I would certainly buy the action figure if they released that.
Yeah.
But coming off of that moment, like, you have to read the audience, I feel like, and that was not the spot for that moment.
guess
Like, that's easily a segment you could just scrap, honestly.
maybe they're trying to soften the blow before we got to Lashley and Goldberg.
Yeah.
Now let me say this much real quick. I actually just finished watching the Bobby Lashley interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin, Broken Skull Sessions, like 2 hours
Okay.
ago.
I gotta check that one out.
Fantastic episode. Bobby Lashley's a good dude. He's a really good dude.
Yeah.
I'm just glad. Look, the match was the whistling shits, obviously, but I'm just glad that we got the result we needed. Bob needed to actually beat Goldberg. I mean, ever since Goldberg beat the Fiend back in fucking 2020? Was it 2020 or 2019? It was 2020. 2020 Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
Right. I get scared when he's involved in these matches that he pops up against Drew, against whoever it may be.
Kevin Owens.
Lesnar. I'm just glad they did the right thing last night, and I actually would have preferred that, and maybe no one really made reference to it, honestly. But when MVP kind of just hit Goldberg in the knee because it didn't look clean. But
Yeah.
I would prefer the clean win, but whatever. I'll take this anyway. And plus, his son come in the ring too, and trying to save his dad, and then he puts him in the fucking full melt. I'll say fuck them kids, man.
I mean, that was a fantastic heel moment. Not that you would know that Lashley was the heel based off the crowd interactions, but man, I'm however you need to stop the match, that's fine with me. It was a lame finish and it was way too long, 7+ minutes for that. I mean, Goldberg was gassed when the bell rang, so he was just done. But Lashley needed that win. I would have preferred, he get it. I didn't think that we would see Goldberg tap or pass out, but at least wanted to see a pinfall from there. So
something tells me though we're not done with this feud yet though, because with this kid being involved, that there's gonna be I can see him fighting again tomorrow night on Raw.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Well, I mean, they are going back to the Middle East. Maybe we'll get another crown jewel victory for Goldberg.
Scare me, dude. Don't scare me with that. I mean, no. Speaking of pops, too, also back to the Becky Bianca thing. One thing I think people didn't notice is that when Becky hit the rock bottom on Bianca, she didn't get a pop.
No.
So again, that's the plan to the whole thing on Friday. Let's see if creative sees that and they take that reaction as something they could play with going forward. Maybe this is what we're looking at, the Becky Lynch heel turn. But back to Bobby too. What you were saying, Bobby, he was getting the crowd support. Does Vince now get it now? Sees now that hey, now maybe they don't want Goldberg anymore. I don't know.
You would hope. I mean, you could hear a pin drop when Goldberg was coming out. I mean, those 51,000 people, if that is the actual number, they were just dead for him. Yeah. It was not a good match, start to finish, for Goldberg, even before the bell. I mean, no one got hyped. There's no pyro, so that certainly deflates the situation, because
we found out why too. Also,
right.
the temperature issues and whatnot. I'm sorry, WWE shows without pyros it's tough. I can't. It's hard to watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was weird, especially for someone like Goldberg, who you attribute the pyro to the entrance. Mm-hmm. For him to walk out without that, that's barely even an entrance for him.
Right. So I was the main event, the Cena match against Roman Reigns. Leading up to the match, leading up to the SummerSlam, I was first I was saying Roman's gonna win no matter what happens. Mm-hmm. And then we get closer, we see all the promos and all the back and forth and all that. We hear about the the number 17 on the line, and Ric Flair is now released from the company a couple weeks ago. So we're buying this idea that maybe this is probably gonna fucking happen now. And I gotta be honest with you, I was 50-50 at this point by the match, and I'm kind of stunned that they did this. Roman still won clean.
I was, until Friday when Roman said, "If I lose, I leave the company."
Yeah,
that's just kind of because I picked Cena to win on 3 count on Thursday because I thought, if nothing else, WWE is very fickle and they like to get their revenge. So I figured with Ric Flair being gone, they wanted someone else to now be solely at the top, and that was going to be John's moment to get 17. So I was fully bought into that storyline until Roman said, "If I lose, I'm out of the company." And then it was just kind of, well, we know where this is going now. Now, that being said, Brock coming out afterwards, I didn't expect. So that was a nice surprise for me. I didn't read many of the rumors. I try to avoid those around the bigger pay-per-views, just because I like to have the shock and everything when they do come out. So I don't know if anyone was really putting that out there. I know it's always a Brock might be back type thing, but I didn't see anything confirmed. Right.
Yeah, I was telling Becky didn't surprise me. I thought she'd come SummerSlam. I figured Brock will be back before Survivor Series, but not SummerSlam. I do wonder, and we'll get to that in a second with CM Punk, if this was a reaction to CM Punk, being AEW, and that Vince saying, "Okay, let's put all our cards into this event now." I mean, I'm glad he's back. I mean, to me, I'm one of those guys. I'm actually a bigger Brock Lesnar fan. People give him credit. I think the WWE's better when he's around. I know people could get annoyed with him not being, every day, every week, whatever, that kind of thing. But I'm okay with him being a part-time guy, because I feel like when he's around, even in certain moments of the year, it it has impact, and to
Yeah.
me that helps the business overall.
Hmm.
You don't want Brock taking opportunities from other people too in the locker room either. So if he's every week, then he's taking matches away from people who may need to get over.
Right. Right. And that's kind of been the AEW model. You don't
Yeah,
have to feature everyone every week. And if
perfect. Yeah.
WWE starts buying into that, then that's fine. We'll start getting more people being utilized on both rosters.
Right.
So, for me, Brock holding the title, I get it can be tiresome because you're not seeing a title defense as often as you probably would like to as a fan. But it still is, I think, Brock being there elevates it because they know there's going to be more eyes. So there's a lot more, not just with the writing, but like the wrestlers are doing more, I think, just to kind of get the product over because they know more people are watching at that point.
And it feels bigger when he has it. It feels bigger.
And the other thing with Brock being back is that then you kind of wait for, well, when's he going to show up? And like that's always kind of been the fun because they don't always announce Brock's going to be on Raw this week. It's just sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. So that gets people to tune in too because is this going to be a week where Brock returns? What's he going to do? Obviously, we know he's going to be kind of challenging Roman. So is Brock a back to SmackDown, back to his roots? We'll see.
Right. No, but I mean, look, we figured when Paul Heyman joined up with Roman last year, with all the Brock stuff going around, we figured, okay, well, at some point down the road, they're gonna have this pick your side angle. We don't know
Hmm.
what happened, and now we're gonna get that. My prayer is that they hold off on this to Survivor Series,
Yeah,
because I've been saying for years that Survivor Series, it's not even a big four anymore because you can make an argument that Money in the Bank is bigger than Survivor Series. So
it really is. Yeah,
you want to make Survivor Series matter for the first time in a very long time, put that Brock Roman match, if it does happen, and make us wait 3 months for it.
yeah. I would
That's
absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, and it'll make that event, a priority, if you will.
What'd you think of Brock's look?
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Ponytail personally. Everyone likes it. I'm personally. He looks great though.
he,
Somebody said that he looked out of shape. Like, are you fucking kidding me? What are
I don't
you?
know. He
No,
looked. Yeah, he looked like he was in peak condition.
right. Like, I don't know what people are talking about, but no. No, the pro wrestling is better when Brock Lesnar is in it involved.
Yep.
I hope they let this stretch out 3 months. Don't give me this Extreme Rules. Don't give me this a Clash of Champions. Give this to me in November. And make Survivor Series matter again. That's
Yeah,
my make Survivor Series matter. Make Survivor Series great again.
I fully agree.
You know,
Fully agree.
you know. What else stood out last night? Other than these three matches, I think Damian Priest. Honestly, he's 38 years old, but I can see him getting a rocket ship next year or two.
Yeah. He he had a nasty spill there doing the outside dive. So
Yeah.
if he takes that off of his move set, I think that'd be smart if we're gonna elongate his career because I do think he has that potential. I like the RK Bro win, and I like the interview after where you see some dissent and how's this team gonna work type deal with Riddle being the easygoing guy and Randy the self-appointed snake of the company.
There's like a
Uh
rock and sock connection kind of feel to it a little bit.
yeah, a little bit, and
Yeah.
I'm for it. I
Yeah.
like to see the title on them. So we'll see what they go. So that match necessarily wasn't good, but I liked the finish. I liked the outcome. So that was one of the ones where it was like at least they got that right type of deal.
I, I'll say it again. The match of the night was easily Seth Rollins and Edge.
100%.
Um,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about this this morning when I just react and everything. Like, if you look at WWE the last 40 years, like Seth Rollins to me, I mean, he's got to be top 15 all time wrestler. And then in terms of big matches, I put him top five. And
Yeah.
I've been watching wrestling since 1987. I watched Hogan and Savage in real time as a kid.
Yeah.
Rollins is in that Shawn Michaels conversation, Macho Man conversation.
I would say so. I would also say that last night's match kind of put to bed all the Seth is dangerous storylines we get from time to time. I think Edge, I mean, we all know his history, and
Mhm.
you don't mess around with a neck injury, even if you're recovered from it. So I think Edge putting a lot of faith in Seth and Seth's work tells you that that was all just kind of talk,
Yeah.
and we can kind of get rid of that rhetoric that Seth is reckless in the ring.
Did
I
that
thought
did that stuff for the Sting thing? I think I'm assuming.
it
I
was
wasn't
this,
watching.
there was the Sting thing, and then there was the Balor injury where he had the dislocated shoulder from a throw into the barricade, but it was more him putting his arm out than Seth's
Oh, okay.
throw.
Okay.
But yeah,
Because all this happened, I don't know if you know, I had stopped for 17 years watching the product,
mhm.
um, between '02 and 19, and I came back in summer of 19 because of AEW. Number one, AEW when AEW was announced, I was like, oh, well, wrestling, okay, well maybe I'll start watching again. And I so much WWE that summer, and whatever. But I heard about the Seth and Sting stuff, but I didn't think that was a thing. I didn't realize that was a bigger deal.
Yeah, it's been floated out there by a few people. I want to say I think there was someone else that said it too, not that worked with him, but just from what they had seen. But I think
Overall,
we can be done
mhm.
with that.
Overall, I gave the show a C plus. I thought the show was mostly flat. I think the moments were decent, but then I think some things that happened. There's a lot of like let's not say bad. Well, there's one bad match, but the evil. We're not gonna go there,
Yeah,
obviously. Whew, the Grizzlies shits. But
oh,
other
bad.
other than that, like every other match other than three were hit and
Hmm.
miss. And I think
Yeah,
the event in general, and then with the Bianca swerve and all that shit, that kind of threw me off. I give it a C plus.
yeah. I gave it a C minus. I was
Whew.
messaging the 3 count guys. I had it as at a D plus going into the main event, and that match started slow, but I thought as they got going and the story they were telling, I thought that improved to the finish, and then the Brock return kind of got us up there a little bit more. So it give him a high C minus, like a 73 if you're getting your graded paperback. That's what I would give SummerSlam, which is also still pretty bad because that's
Yeah.
not my second favorite show, but that's your second biggest show probably for
Yeah.
WWE, and you can't be pulling C minus, C plus. You need to be given an A or a B plus
Yeah.
effort there, and that they just I don't even think the card as it was built really gave them the potential to get to that. Like if you look at the card before you even know the results, I mean, can you look at that card and say, yeah, you can get an A out of this?
Not an A.
You,
I would have said at least a B plus.
you can get some A's out of some of the matches, but I mean, some of the stuff I think just fell flat, and I don't think they were built to do much better than C plus range, in my opinion.
But not only that, but also you had other potential matches, potential feuds that are going on right now currently
Hmm.
that are not involved in this card. Like you can throw in a Baron Corbin against either Big E or Kevin Owens again, or whatever. You can throw in some other potential good matches in there. There's a lot of good talent who were not able to be on this card. That
Yeah,
that was disappointing. And more like to me, the ceiling would have been B plus because the big matches would have carried it through. But
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I think we all kind of knew like the big matches they were hyping. I think we all knew that Goldberg Lashley was not going to be a good match. So then you're kind of banking on the women's triple threat match, and then Cena versus Reigns. Because even though Rollins Edge was match of the night, I don't think that was as hyped as those other three were. I think those were the three that they were counting on to carry it, and they hit a home run with one that they probably weren't expecting to.
right, right, right.